Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank also Jorge Sousa, Esteban Salinas, IRF, and the organization of this conference, the opportunity to be here and to explain you my views. Probably I will not discover nothing at that time of the conference. I'm one of the last speakers, but I'll try to do something quick and reinforce some of the messages done during the conference. So, first of all, I would like to introduce Thinking Remarket. It's a consulting company specialized in recycling and circular economy. We have been involved in the development of different secondary raw materials, the application of the raw materials in different uses than the previous one. Also, specialized in the management of end of life products to be sure that all the wastes had been collected properly and could be treated. And as a part of previous position in other companies, we have developed different products and different projects on the use of secondary raw materials in different applications, also in the field of asphalt rubber. So to continue with my presentation, I would like to summarize the advantages of the messages in 10 reasons to use asphalt rubber. I will explain in 10 slides for one reason why we should continue using, or we should start using asphalt rubber. We have debate during this conference in several occasions the reason to not use by the administration or by companies of the asphalt rubber, because it has been demonstrated that it has very good properties and advantages. In my opinion, the reason to not use asphalt rubber in a quantity enough to say that it's completely developed is not a simple reason. Probably it is a complex answer. First of all, in my opinion, is the lack of information. Not here, probably here we have shared a lot of technical information. There are a lot of engineers, a lot of companies with good results, with studies. But maybe not at the administration level. The administration level always is one step back. And this step back should be completed with information and not very high-level technical information, because in some cases they cannot understand properly some results, some studies, because belongs to the research or the university level. The information should be cut, should be explained, should be detailed enough and reduced to the minimum comprehensive sentences. Other reasons are, of course, the interest of the producer of raw materials. If I were in a position of a SBS producer and seller, of course, I will promote this product, and probably the sales and marketing departments of big companies are good enough to balance other good results obtained with the use of secondary raw materials. Another important point related with civil servants at the administration is some of them, most of them, except young people, are very conservative. It's true, it's real. They don't want to risk anything, because probably the salary at the end of the month will be exactly the same using new technologies or the old technologies, so they don't want to risk. And because of the lack of information, they are afraid to use it. And in other cases, I have noticed also misunderstanding because I can tell you a lot of stories, but some people think that the price is always higher, and price because they have not gone into in deep of the technology and the possibilities to compensate the highest price in the first application with the total lifespan. So, just to continue, my first reason to use is the improvement of mechanical properties of the missiles. I can tell you more details because some people here yesterday and today have explained a lot of details. The previous speaker, the fatigue improvement should be enough. Cracks propagation is really an important issue. It has been demonstrated that cracks appear later, and not only appear later, the propagation is slower. So it's completely true. And the fracture energy and other mechanical and rheological properties are innate. My second reason, a lot of people here have speak about noise. I don't want to repeat, I don't want to use data, but noise is a complex phenomenon. 70% of the noise from tires and cars come from the contact with the road, the tire and the road. And of course, porous surfaces has been demonstrated that mitigate, reduce the sound or the noise emission. Some of you can say, okay, but porous asphalt can be achieved also with polymer modified bitumen. Yes, of course, but one of the reasons is if you want to, it is absolutely necessary to use a polymer to produce porous surfaces. And the other reason related with the noise, noise is complex, but also the transmission of the noise on the surfaces and the emission from surfaces depend on the viscoelastic properties of the surface. It's not the same for transmitting the sound or the steel or concrete or liquid media. So the viscoelasticity of the material also takes a very important role on the transmission of the sound. Third reason, in my opinion, is the improvement of road life cycle. This is not a part study. This is a picture chart included in the procedure manual of an administration. It's the Department of Transportation in California. This manual and also a web application to decide when should be used asphalt rubber or not in terms or depend on the total traffic in the road or the I don't know, the weather condition in different alternatives. And it is included this chart and the possibility to decide when it's useful to use the asphalt rubber because of the long lasting of the road. My fourth reason to use asphalt rubber, of course, safety. Safety. Who of you can choose safer surfaces? Do not choose it. Nobody. Also, the same question outside could be answered exactly the same. Everybody wants safer surfaces. So, if we think in this picture, which is safer, the black one or the oxidated one? Of course, the answer is clear. The black one. Carbon black content in rubber is one of the best ultraviolet stabilizer. So this carbon black remain in the binder for the time, and remain the black color for more time. Which is safer? The answer is clear. The porous asphalt. In the other part, you can see the water. There's no choice. Which is safer? Who are the motorbiker drivers here? This is one of the dangerous parts of a road or streets for motorbikes. Mainly the bus line in cities. It has been demonstrated also that the routing can be prevented with asphalt rubber. And finally, in the field of safe, also the presence of cracks, potholes, and other things. My fifth reason, saving of raw materials. Saving of SBS, several studies in which have been completely substitute the SBS by rubber. In other cases, just only a percentage, but it's a raw material. Also, it's a raw material that comes from petrol. Tires come from petrol only in a percentage. We have shown this morning that some tires come from also natural rubber that is produced in the nature. Reduction of thickness. You can identify the coin. And this picture was taken a year ago, very close to Lisbon, 40 kilometers away. A lot of samples have been shown this morning and today. My sixth reason, reduction of cost. Here in this chart is represented the possibility of saving, in the case of substitute, a percentage of SBAs by rubber powder. If we take into account the price of the SBAs and the price of powder, the average, when the price of the petrol, the bitumen, is higher, the difference in both are increased. What happened with the price of the powder? We have came to the floor, the price of the powder. The price of the powder during the last 20 years has been decreased because of the high production of powder, because of the companies that are collecting, treating, and recycling tires. The offer in the market is very high, so the price is decreasing little by little. And the price of the crude oil and also the binder is completely different, it's higher. In time, when the price of the binder achieved, at least in Spain, 500 euros, to put 10, 12% of rubber was a cost to save a lot of money. Only in terms of raw materials. Of course, the investment is part. The reduction in thickness, the saving in money. And one of the other important issue is the saving in money in maintenance. Not only in the road, also the problems with cutting roads to refurbish or to repair or to control the potholes. Okay. My seventh reason is the reduction of carbon footprint. If we put in a balance the emission added to the CO2 emission added because of the use of asphalt rubber, we had to increase the temperature a little bit, so the emission increased. We had to maybe increase a little bit the mixing time, 3, 5, 8 seconds more per batch. Of course, the treatment of the tire consume a lot of energy, so the increase of CO2 emissions. But on the other part of the balance, we have to discount the saved emission because of not quarrying gravels, sands, because of the reduction of the transportation of those materials. And of course, the reduction of the maintenance costs in terms of transport, preparing of meats, etc. So the balance of this equation, of this positive and negative contribution, is absolutely positive for their asphalt rubber. My eighth reason, the scarcity of materials. This is not related with exactly with the asphalt, with rubber, sorry. When I prepared this presentation, I found it in the economies, the scarcity of sand in some part of the world. In India, for example, a lot of people is stealing sand from beaches to build houses or to build roads. It's incredible. Of course, the sand in the world is in a big quantity in deserts, but it's not absolutely well located. So for some part, the reduction of the thickness could be very interesting to save some problem, to prevent some problem like this one. Another interesting reason of scarcity. We live in Europe, and now, at this moment, the European countries do not produce crude oil. The only countries in Europe that produce crude oil are United Kingdom and Norway, that are outside of the European Union. So in a stressed political situation, the scarcity of petrol, of some raw materials could be important. Okay. My ninth reason is the availability of secondary raw materials. Not only the rubber. Let me explain. This is a statistics chart of the production of asphalt mixture in Europe. 300 millions of tons per year in 2015. And in this other table, in the first column, probably it's not possible to see from the bottom of the room, but there are few countries in which the pavement has been recycled in a very big percentage. Only Germany, Italy, and France maybe, but not in Spain. In Spain, the percentage is very, very low. And one of the reasons for so low percentage is because the rules to build new roads was drafted several years ago when the materials, their secondary raw material, wasn't so popular. So the availability of those materials wasn't as today. So first, we should promote the change of the rules to include recycling materials in roads, not only foreign materials, also the grab. Continuing with this reason, the availability of secondary raw materials in Europe has been produced last year more than 3 million tons of tires, and only 50%, around 50% had been recycled. So the potential to recycle and to use in different applications, included asphalt rubber, is huge. But not only tires. In the European Union, is produced 56 million of plastics. Some of them can be used also in asphalt. 24 million have been recovered, and 50% of these 24 million has been sent abroad. So it's a waste of secondary raw material. And finally, and probably the most important, is the legal framework. The legal framework that applies not only tires, or plastics, or electronics equipment. This framework, the Waste Directive that applies in Europe, is also for roads. Also for roads. It's not excluded roads. So the first step in a road is to prevent the necessity to change or to refurbish or to repave. So the prevention should be taken into account at the time to design the road, a new road, or the repavement. But when after the prevention, the use of secondary raw material, because it's recycling and is also included in the Waste Framework Directive. Buying green, the green public procurement is enforced, but probably few administrations are applying now. According to the green public procurement, the administration should take into account environmental issues at the time to decide which is the best project. But I don't know what happened in other countries. But in Spain, the only reason to choose one project or other is money. The lowest price is the only one. It's the only one. And finally, the circular economy package approved by the European Commission at the end of 2015 that introduced or incorporates some different modification of directives and rules to improve and to increase each time the use of secondary raw materials. Probably you don't know exactly, but 30 million of jobs in Europe depend on the availability of raw materials, not recycled, availability of raw materials. And Europe doesn't produce different raw materials. So it is important to incorporate recycled products. And in conclusion, if 10 good reasons should be enough to use recycled raw materials, in my opinion, can skeptical put more reason against this solution on the table? So thank you very much, and remember, when you decide, recycle it first. Thank you.